r/AskReddit by Reddit tells adult/sex shop cashiers and employees, what is the one or more things you secretly judge people for buying? I used to work at a store that had porn, just the movies, no accessories, and it was never what the customers were getting that caught my attention, but how they went about it. For example, I had one woman who would come in every Friday wearing a polo featuring the local Catholic school's logo. I made the assumption that she worked there, and every Friday night she would get lesbian porn and say that she was getting it as a funny gag for a sleepover she was having with her friends. I would have never noticed her if she hadn't said anything. What a great gag gift. Haha guys, let's watch a film. Oops, that's not Finding Nemo, it's Finding Your Clit. Lol, similar story but different context. I used to buy a baby shower card with a pregnancy test every time I bought one. The Walgreens near my home was too self-conscious about buying pregnancy tests. One time I said, it's a gift for my friend's baby shower. The joke is you can't always be too sure about these things. Thought it was funny and would lighten the load off my shoulders. Nope. That's probably when the cashier noticed what I was even buying. People who buy vibrators, then return them later with open boxes. People actually do this. Edit. Of course we didn't accept the returns. One person's trash is another's open box discount. I've returned vibrators. I had a rabbit vibe that had the rotating pearls. After only having it 2 weeks, all the pearls started to break. I certainly was getting my $120 back for something THST was broken. Another toy I returned had a contact charger. It shorted out and melted the toy to the charger. Again, a pretty expensive toy, but overheating to the point of melting the silicone. The manufacturer needs to be aware. I worked in an adult store for about 4 years. I know anyone I worked with would judge anyone for what they brought, apart from glass pipes, but that's another story. Saying that, what people would steal was always funny. I had one guy shoplift a huge stainless steel dong and then try to come back into the store with it in his pocket. Another guy stole a vibrator and used it in our changing room, so that was an interesting day. Also, penis pumps got stolen every other day. They don't increase your size, by the way. Is that a huge stainless steel dong in your pocket, or are you just pleased to see me? I used to earn the bulk of my living from writing erotica and selling it online. It's not that I judge people for it, exactly, but the best-selling books were always the most ridiculous ones I could write with the least subtle titles. I ended up spinning off a whole new pen name for one particular fetish, where the stories would take me literally about 4 hours to produce, beginning to end including the cover, because people would eat it up. It's not so much judgment, because everyone's got their kinks, but there's a bit of eye rolling when the stories you're really proud of sell about 4 copies. But help. My own penis is trying to get me pregnant. A self-seduction preg fantasy sells enough copies on its own to pay your rent for the next 2 months. No, that's not a real title. No, that's not a fetish I write. Yes, I'm pretty sure that story would absolutely fly off the shelves. As a teenager in the 90s, I felt like I was being judged for buying the tokens required to watch a couple minutes of porn in the back. Basically, you insert a token and select from about 15 different channels of VHS porn being looped. All kinds of bizarre porn. I noticed creepy looking dudes hovering around the little rooms where one could do this. Well, one day as I was watching the porn, I hear a knock on the wall of my room. I noticed a hole in the wall. On the other side was a creepy dude whispering, "Hey, PSSST, hey." I'm like, "Yeah?" He whispers, "I wanna see you jerk off." I declined the invitation and got a little nervous. Next thing you know, the guy's dick started poking through the hole. I dropped whatever tokens I had and bolted for the door. Later on, I learned that glory holes were fairly common in pawn shops with the video arcade in the back. Edit. Wow, this blew up. I forgot to mention the reason I visited in the first place. On a billboard they advertised videos, novelties, 30th, video arcade. I genuinely believed there was a whole new frontier of video arcade games that were pornographic, so I had to check it out. This happened in 1996, before I had internet, in a then seedy suburb of Baltimore, Elkridge, Maryland. It was a trick the whole time. He just wanted you to drop all those tokens, so he could have them. Dude, When I first moved to the Toronto area I was just a young gay boy. I was killing time on Church Street and went into a adult toy store. You have to walk downstairs to get to it, but the stairs lead directly to the sidewalk. Anyway, went in, saw the token stuff and got some. Went into one booth and wasn't jerking or anything, literally just watching. Porn was about 30 years old and it was funnier than sexy. Next thing I hear is psst, look over and see a hole to my right. As I'm looking at the hole he sticks the dick in. I yelped, jumped, and proceeded to bring my hand straight down and slap it as hard as possible. Total reflex. Wasn't an intentional thought. I didn't even realize it was a dick at first. The issue is that the hole was cut in rough plywood, and I smacked his dick down with a lot of force into splintery wood. I got up, grabbed the bag and bolted, got upstairs, and mingled into the crowd. Walked up the street, and then leant against a wall on my phone. Saw a dude run up the stairs looking furious while wincing and holding his crotch. I understand your shock. My cousin worked at one and told me a story of a guy who would come in once a week, presumably on payday, and spend time looking at a sex doll that, according to him, is ungodly expensive. Well, after a couple months of this, he finally pulled the trigger and bought it. He never came back in again. It's ungodly expensive. Well, you know, inflation. Now there's a guy who knows what he wants and went out to get it. We need more people like that guy at the company I work at. She will be mine. Oh yes, she will be mine. Friend of mine worked in an adult store. He would normally have nothing to do, so occasionally I would go in to bring him lunch and we'd look at the funny porn titles, and when a customer came in I'd pretend I was browsing. Once a guy came in inquiring about butt plugs. He wanted to know if they had anything that could meet his size requirements. My friend broadly asked what exactly he meant. The guy replied, well, the biggest thing I managed was a fire extinguisher. No judgment of course, but Christ. Wait, is this common? I once heard a story from a friend of a friend who worked in a hotel and had a crazy naked guy run through the restaurant with a fire extinguisher up his ass. Okay, now I know it's time for me to go to bed because you wrote fire extinguisher and I read fire extinguisher, but for some goddamned reason my brain interpreted it as fire hydrant and was like, I don't think that's possible. I don't judge this one, but I do wonder if people buying sounding rods really know what they're getting into. If that's your thing then go and do your sweet thing, but if it's like a stupid dare, which happens, please be careful. The one thing I do slightly judge is people who buy the gross jelly vibrators that are made out of garbage, but we have to sell them as novelties. We advise every customer against them if you're actually going to use them inside of your body. We offer decent silicone vibrators for maybe $10 more. You would think that people would spend an extra $10 to avoid infections, but oh no, the sparkly jelly one is just fine because it's pretty and gets the job done. No it won't, because it's battery powered, which isn't very powerful, and there's no way to clean something that's porous, but sure, take the sparkly one. Also, if vibrators aren't always your cup of tea, try a Satisfyer, and if you like that, upgrade to a womanizer. Vibration is great, but suction clitoral stimulation is another level. Womanizer has an internal with external option as well. Yes, the only customers I judged were people who bought the cheapest stuff against my advice. They always thought they were saving money, but actually they were just throwing it away on an unsatisfying and potentially unsafe toy. I bought a Satisfyer over 2 years ago, and all my other vibrators and toys have been collecting dust in the closet since. Yet my fiance has one suction and vibration. It works for her, so I'm happy she has that, to be honest. She's got a stronger sex drive than I do, but also I'm just not always in the mood to go down on her for 10 minutes, which may sound selfish considering how easy it is for me to get off as a man. But she'll usually use that after we have sex, so it's good. I try, but she says my fingers are too rough, which I understand. May I tell a story from my roommate who worked at one? A group of young guys, all around 18 to 19 years old, came into the store together one day and started browsing. After a bunch of whispering amongst each other and looking a little sheepish, they came up to the counter with a fleshlight. One fleshlight. Okay, whatever. She figured it was just one of them getting their first sex toy, maybe for their 18th birthday. Nope. All of the boys whipped out their wallets to pull their money for it because they were going to share this one fleshlight between the 6 of them. Fleshlights are extremely porous. Even if they tried to thoroughly wash it before passing it to someone else, there would still be semen/gunk from the last guy, and it would build up very quickly with 6 of them using it. It's like 6-way sloppy seconds, except it's not self-cleaning like a vagina, so nasty bacteria and fungi would start growing in there and get into their dicks. She told them this, almost begged them to just get a bunch of cheaper fleshlights instead of one fancy one, but they said nothing, bought it, and scurried out. I still wonder if those boys ended up with genital infections. Don't share or buy, honestly, porous sex toys, kids. I don't judge anyone for buying anything, because everyone has their own kink, and I think that's fine. But I do judge people who are judgy themselves, or rude to me. I do have a fun story, though, and I like to set the scene, so be prepared. I didn't work in an explicit sex shop, but I worked in a head shop with a sex section in the back. All my ridiculous work stories come from this section. One day an older Caucasian couple came in, probably in their 40s or 50s, and they asked to check out the back section. The man was skinny, wearing a white cowboy hat, a white long-sleeved collared shirt with a barlow tie, tucked into boot-cut jeans with a huge longhorn belt buckle and brown cowboy boots that went up to his knees. He had white hair and white mustache and beady blue eyes under white bushy eyebrows. The woman was a little rounder, blonde shoulder-length hair with bangs, wearing a short-sleeved denim dress with a brown belt and short cowgirl boots. I asked if they were interested in anything in particular, and the man asked about toys. All of our sex stuff was in those glass display cases with glass shelves you normally see pipes in. So I directed him to the cabinet that housed our meager toy collection, with the bottom shelf housing our 5 dildos. That's it. And they were all weird dildos. If you ever come into my smoke shop looking for a specific dildo, odds are that you are not going to find it. The first piece was a banana that unsheathed into a penis. The second piece was a vibrating pickle thing called the jerkin gherkin. In the middle I like to place this giant 20-inch straight line double-ended dildo a la Requiem for a Dream. The fourth piece was a pink plastic 6-inch plain vibrator, and in the corner was a purple double-sided strap-on with a harness, angled for a woman, to use on a man. Interestingly, the man's eyes lit up when he noticed the strap-on. He had me pull it out of the case so he and his wife could inspect it. After some quiet deliberation that I tried to not overhear about it being big enough and a good shape, the man raised his voice and told me that he wanted that, but in black, or flesh, or maybe a color that isn't so gay. I had to bite my tongue and tell him that that was the only one in stock in my best professional customer service voice. Dude, I might have been a 20-year-old stoner chick, but you, me, and your wife knew exactly what you were going to use it for, and at that point the color purple wasn't going to make it any less gay. I then informed him that he could look online, because our stock mostly centers around glass, but he didn't want a paper trail. In the end I had to special order him a not gay black double-sided dildo that was an inch or two longer than the one in the store that they could pick up the next week. They paid in cash. I have nothing against display or gaze or ramming whatever you want up your ass. That doesn't warrant a doctor visit, but this man was so judgy. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Comment your own crazy stories. Subscribe for more great content.